Captain Daeho Kim stared at the dark space ahead. His mining ship moved slowly through the asteroid field. The rocks floated like sleeping giants in the black void. Some were as big as cities, others were small like houses. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from Sector 7, said Hee-Jin Cho. She sat at the communication desk, her fingers dancing over the control panel. The young woman had worked on mining ships for 3 years. She had never seen readings like this before. Daeho walked over to look at her screen. Green lines moved up and down in patterns that made no sense. What kind of readings? Energy signatures. But they're not coming from any known source. Hee-Jin touched the screen. The lines jumped higher. It's like something is sleeping out there. Something big. Sora Park looked up from her engineering station. She was the best engineer in the Outer Rim colonies. Her hands were always dirty from fixing machines, but her mind was sharp as a laser cutter. "Captain, that asteroid cluster in Sector 7. It's not natural. What do you mean?" Daeho asked. "The rocks are arranged in a pattern, like they were placed there on purpose." Sora stood up and wiped her hands on her work clothes. Someone wanted to hide something. Tae-Min Lee turned from the navigation controls. He was young, maybe 25, but he could fly a ship through a needle if needed. "Should we investigate?" "We're here to collect salvage, not play treasure hunters." Daeho thought for a moment. They were far from Earth, far from any help. The mining colony on Helix 7 had been abandoned 2 years ago when the resources ran out. Now they came here to collect whatever useful materials were left behind. It was dangerous work, but it paid well. Set course for the anomaly, Daeho decided. Slow and careful, the ship Persistence moved toward the strange readings. It was not a beautiful ship. Mining vessels never were. They were built for work, not for looks. Thick armor protected the crew from flying rocks. Powerful engines could pull heavy loads. The living quarters were small and cramped. As they got closer, the energy readings grew stronger. Hee-Jin watched her instruments with growing excitement. "Captain, whatever is out there, it's huge. Maybe 3 times the size of our ship." "Could be a derelict," Sora said. "Maybe a transport ship that got lost. Or maybe something else," Tae-Min added quietly. They reached the asteroid cluster. Daeho looked out the main window. The rocks did look arranged. They formed a rough circle around a dark space in the middle. "Take us in," he ordered. Tae-Min guided the ship between the floating rocks. His hands were steady on the controls. One wrong move could crash them into an asteroid. The space between the rocks was just wide enough for their ship. "There," Sora pointed. "Do you see it?" In the darkness ahead, something reflected their ship's lights. It was long and gray like a sleeping whale, but this was no animal. It was clearly a ship, and it was massive. "By all the stars," Hee-Jin whispered. "It's beautiful." The ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was sleek where most ships were blocky. It was graceful where others were crude. Strange symbols were carved into its hull. Even in the darkness, it seemed to glow with its own inner light. "Can you read those markings?" Daeho asked. Sora squinted at the hull. Some of them looked like Earth script, but old style. Really old. They moved closer. The derelict ship was easily 3 times their size. It could probably carry a crew of 300. Maybe more. "Look at that," Tae-Min said. He pointed to letters on the ship's side. "UES something." "United Earth Ship?" "Harbinger." Hee-Jin read the full name. "UES Harbinger. I've never heard of that ship," Sora said. "And I know every Earth vessel in the database." Daeho felt a chill run down his back. "Run a scan." Full spectrum. The scan results appeared on their screens. The ship was old, very old. But it was not dead. Power flowed through its systems like blood through sleeping veins. "Captain," Hee-Jin said, her voice shaking. "This ship is 50 years old, but it's still active. Life support is running. The reactor is online." "That's impossible," Sora said. "No ship can run for 50 years without a crew." "This one did," Daeho said quietly. They studied the massive ship. It had weapons, but not like modern weapons. These were different, bigger, stranger. The hull was thick but made from materials they did not recognize. "We need to board it," Daeho decided. "Captain, that might not be safe," Tae-Min warned. "Maybe not, but we need to know what this is. And why it's been hiding out here for 50 years. Sora checked her tools. "I can probably get us inside. If the airlock systems are standard, do it." They moved their ship close to the Harbinger's docking port. The connection was smooth, like the mysterious ship wanted them aboard. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. "Atmosphere is good," Sora reported. "Temperature normal." Whatever is keeping this ship running, it's doing a perfect job. They entered the Harbinger through a corridor that glowed with soft blue light. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. The walls were smooth and clean. No dust, no decay. It was like the ship had been built yesterday. "This is not normal," He-Jin whispered. They reached what looked like the bridge. It was larger than their entire ship. Control stations stood in perfect rows. Screens showed star charts and system readouts. Suddenly, lights began to come on. One by one, the control stations activated. A sound filled the air like music made of electricity. "Welcome," said a voice. It was female, calm, and spoke perfect Earth Standard language. "I am Aria 7, Artificial Intelligence of the UES Harbinger. I have been waiting." The crew stood frozen. They had found something incredible. Something that would change everything. "Waiting for what?" Daeho asked. "For someone with proper authorization codes. For someone who could wake me up." The voice paused. "For the war that is coming." "What war?" Sora demanded. "Long-range sensors detect hostile fleet approaching. 847 ships. Kethvar Empire classification. Estimated arrival 18 hours. The four humans looked at each other. They had come looking for salvage. Instead, they had found something that might save them all. Or destroy them. "Tell us about this ship," Daeho said. "The Harbinger is a prototype. Project Prometheus classification. I was built to fight wars that conventional weapons cannot win." Outside, in the darkness of space, an alien fleet moved toward human colonies. They came to conquer and destroy. They did not know that humanity's greatest weapon had just awakened from its long sleep. The emergency signal went out across space at light speed. Daeho had sent it the moment Area 7 confirmed the alien fleet was real. Now they waited on the bridge of the Harbinger, watching the stars and hoping help would come in time. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," Hyojin announced. Her voice was tight with worry. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Mi-young-seo appeared. Her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her face was stern, but her eyes showed concern. Behind her, the Earth Command Center buzzed with activity. "Captain Kim, report your status," the Admiral said. "Ma'am, we've discovered a derelict ship. Designation U.S. Harbinger. The ship's AI claims it's a prototype weapon. It also detected a large alien fleet heading for human space." Admiral Seo's eyes widened. "Did you say Harbinger? Patch me through to the ship's AI immediately." Area 7's voice filled the bridge. "Admiral Seo, authorization codes accepted. Project Prometheus is now active." "Dear God," the Admiral whispered. "After all these years. Area, what is your current status?" "All primary systems operational." "Crew complement." 4 civilians with limited military training. "Recommended action. Immediate evacuation and replacement with trained personnel." "Negative," Admiral Seo said firmly. "We don't have time." "Captain Kim, I'm sending you emergency authorization codes. You now have command of that vessel." Daeho felt his stomach drop. "Ma'am, we're minors. We don't know how to fight a war. You're going to learn. Fast." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Captain, that ship is humanity's best hope. Maybe our only hope." 2 hours later, another ship appeared from hyperspace. It was the Earth cruiser Determination, commanded by Captain Jae-Sung Han. He brought with him a team of specialists and scientists. Captain Han was a career military officer. Tall and lean, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, he boarded the Harbinger with his team and immediately began studying the ship's systems. "This is incredible," said Bo Ram-yoon, the chief science officer. She was small and quiet, but her mind worked like a supercomputer. "These weapon systems, I've never seen anything like them. What did they do?" Sora asked. She had been studying the engineering systems for hours, but many of them made no sense. "According to these files, the main weapon is called a quantum cascade cannon," Bo-Ram explained. "It manipulates gravity itself." Dongwook Lim, the systems analyst, looked up from his console. He was young and wore thick glasses. "Captain, I'm finding references to something called dimensional phasing. The ship can apparently shift between different layers of space." "That's impossible," Taemin said. "So was faster than light travel once," Captain Han replied. "Arya, show us what this ship can do." The AI's voice was calm as always. Demonstration mode activated. The lights dimmed. Through the main window, they watched space itself seem to bend. Reality twisted like water. For a moment, the stars looked different. Then everything returned to normal. "The ship briefly shifted into parallel dimensional space," Arya explained. "In combat, this allows us to avoid enemy weapons while maintaining our ability to fire." What about this cascade cannon? Deho asked. The weapon creates artificial gravity wells. These wells can crush enemy ships or pull them into black holes. The effect can chain from target to target if properly aimed. Sora felt sick. How is that even possible? Boram was reading through files on her tablet. Her face was pale. According to Dr. Kyung-ho Ryu's notes, the ship uses exotic matter to bend space-time. But the power requirements are enormous. Why was this project cancelled? Captain Han asked. Arya paused before answering. The project was not cancelled. It was hidden. The government feared the weapon was too dangerous. A single miscalculation could destroy an entire solar system. And now we have to use it, Deho said quietly. The alternative is worse. Admiral Seo's voice came through the communication system. Long-range scouts confirmed the alien fleet. 847 ships. They've destroyed 3 colonies already. The crew fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Millions of people were dead. What do we know about these aliens? Sora asked. Captain Han pulled up a holographic display. The Kethvar Empire. They're conquerors. They take planets, kill or enslave the population, then strip the world of resources. The hologram showed images of the alien ships. They were dark and angular like flying spears. Their hulls were covered in spikes and weapons. How many ships does Earth have in this sector? Taemin asked. 23, Captain Han answered. All smaller than the enemy vessels. Dongwook did quick calculations on his tablet. Even if our ships were equal in power, which they're not, we'd be outnumbered 36-1. That's why we need the Harbinger operational, Admiral Seo said. Arya, how long until you're ready for combat? Unknown. The weapon systems have never been tested in actual battle. The crew requires extensive training on ship operations. We don't have time for extensive training, Captain Han said. We have maybe 16 hours before the aliens arrive. Boram looked up from her research. Captain, there's something else. Dr. Ryu's final logs mention something called the Consciousness Link Protocol. What's that? Deho asked. I'm not sure. The files are encrypted, but it seems to be some kind of backup system. Arya's voice cut through their discussion. Alien advanced scouts detected. 3 ships have entered sensor range. The main screen showed 3 dark shapes moving toward them. They were fast and deadly looking. Battle stations, Captain Han ordered, then caught himself. Sorry, your ship, Captain Kim. Deho felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. All stations prepare for combat. Area, can we avoid those scouts? Affirmative. Dimensional shift available. Do it. Once again, reality twisted around them. The stars changed position. When they shifted back to normal space, the alien scouts were far behind them. Impressive, Captain Han said. But we can't run forever. Sora had been studying the engineering displays. Captain, I think I understand how this ship works. The exotic matter reactor doesn't just power the weapons. It powers everything. The life support, the engines, even the gravity systems. What does that mean? Deho asked. It means this ship is like nothing else in space. It's not just a weapon. It's a completely new kind of technology. Heejin looked up from her station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's from the alien fleet. Put it through. The screen filled with an image that made everyone step back. The alien had 4 arms and skin like black metal. Its eyes glowed red, and when it spoke, its voice was like grinding stone. Human vessels. You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in total destruction. The transmission ended. Friendly bunch, Taemin muttered. They don't know what they're up against, Sora said, looking at the Harbinger's weapon systems. Captain Han checked his watch. 15 hours until the main fleet arrives. We need to be ready. Deho looked around the bridge at his crew, miners and salvage workers about to face the largest alien invasion force in human history, with a weapon they barely understood, on a ship they'd discovered by accident. Area. Begin combat training protocols. All crew. Acknowledged. Warning. Abbreviated training carries significant risk. Everything carries risk now, Deho replied. Let's get to work. Outside, the alien fleet continued its approach. Soon they would learn that humanity was full of surprises. The training was brutal. For 12 straight hours, the crew worked without rest. Arya pushed them through combat simulations, weapon systems, and emergency procedures. Their hands were sore from operating unfamiliar controls. Their minds were tired from learning too much too fast. Sora stood in the engineering section, surrounded by displays that showed power flows she barely understood. Arya, explain the reactor system again. The exotic matter reactor converts dark energy into usable power. This allows the ship to manipulate space-time directly. The AI's voice was patient, but Sora could hear the urgency underneath. And if something goes wrong? Catastrophic failure would create a black hole approximately 2 kilometers wide. Sora felt sweat on her forehead. Right, no pressure then. 3 decks up, Taemin was learning the navigation systems. The Harbinger could move in ways that normal ships could not. It could fold space, shift between dimensions, and even move backward in time for a few seconds. This is insane, he muttered, studying the control panel. How did humans build this 50 years ago? Captain Han sat beside him. According to the files, Project Prometheus used technology we're still discovering. Some of it came from alien artifacts found on dead worlds. What happened to those worlds? No one knows. The aliens who built the artifacts vanished millions of years ago. On the bridge, Hyejin was learning the communication and sensor systems. The Harbinger could detect ships across entire star systems. It could jam enemy communications and even send messages back in time. Captain, she called to Daeho. I'm picking up more alien scouts. 5 ships this time. Daeho looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships were spreading out, trying to surround them. How long until the main fleet arrives? 4 hours, Boram answered from her science station. And we're still not ready, Dongwook added nervously. Arya's voice filled the bridge. Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Mi Young Seo appeared on screen again. This time she looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had not slept. Captain Kim, what's your status? We're learning, Admiral. But this ship is beyond anything we imagined. I know. I've been reading the classified files. Captain, there's something you need to know about Project Prometheus. What is it? The ship was never meant to be operated by a normal crew. It was designed for enhanced humans. People with cybernetic implants that let them interface directly with the ship's systems. Daeho felt cold. We don't have cybernetic implants. No, but the ship has something else. Arya, tell them about the consciousness link. The AI was quiet for a long moment. The consciousness link protocol allows the ship to temporarily merge the minds of the crew. This creates a Gestalt intelligence capable of operating all systems simultaneously. Is it safe? Sora asked from engineering. Unknown. The procedure has never been tested on living subjects. Captain Han crossed his arms. What are the risks? Possible risks include permanent mental damage, loss of individual identity, or death. The bridge fell silent. Outside, the alien scouts were getting closer. There has to be another way, Hyejin said. Boram looked up from her research. I've been studying Dr. Kyung-ho Ryu's personal logs. He mentions test subjects, volunteers who tried the consciousness link. What happened to them? Daeho asked. The records are incomplete, but the survivors reported enhanced intelligence, faster reflexes, and perfect coordination. Survivors? Taemin asked. How many didn't survive? Boram's face was grim. 60% mortality rate. Those are terrible odds, Dongwook whispered. Admiral Seo's voice cut through their fears. Captain, you have a choice. Use the consciousness link and possibly save humanity, or try to fight conventionally and definitely lose. Daeho looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had followed him into danger many times. They trusted him. Now he was asking them to risk their lives in a way they had never imagined. Arya, if we use the consciousness link, what are our chances of defeating the alien fleet? With the Gestalt intelligence operating the ship's systems, probability of victory increases to 87%. And without it? 12%. Sora's voice came through the communication system. Captain, whatever you decide, we're with you. Same here, Taemin added. Hyejin nodded. We didn't come this far to back down now. Even Dongwook, who was clearly terrified, straightened up. Let's do it. Captain Han stepped forward. Captain Kim, my crew volunteers as well. If this is humanity's last stand, we should face it together. Daeho felt the weight of the decision. 8 lives against millions. 8 people against an empire. Arya, begin preparations for the consciousness link protocol. Acknowledged. All personnel report to the medical bay for pre-procedure scans. The medical bay was unlike anything they had seen. Strange machines lined the walls, covered in blinking lights and flowing tubes. In the center stood 8 chairs arranged in a circle. These are neural interface chairs, Arya explained. They will create a temporary connection between your minds and the ship's systems. Dr. Boram examined the equipment with scientific curiosity. How does it work? Quantum entanglement of neural pathways. Your consciousness will remain distinct but interconnected. You will share thoughts, memories, and skills. Sora sat down in one of the chairs. Metal bands moved to surround her head. This is either very brave or very stupid. Both, Taemin agreed, taking the chair next to her. One by one, they all sat down. The chairs hummed with power. Screens showed their brain patterns as green waves. Warning, Arya announced. Alien advance fleet has accelerated. Combat will begin in 30 minutes. Start the procedure, Deho ordered. The world exploded into light and sensation. Suddenly, Deho could feel everyone's thoughts. Sora's technical knowledge flowed into his mind. Taemin's piloting skills became his own. Hyjin's communication training merged with his consciousness. He was himself, but he was also more. They all were. Together, they stood up from the chairs. 8 minds working as one. They moved with perfect coordination toward the bridge. The ship responded to their thoughts before they even touched the controls. Systems came online. Weapons powered up. The exotic matter reactor hummed with dangerous energy. Through the enhanced sensors, they felt the alien fleet approaching. 800 ships filled with hatred and conquest. The enemy expected easy victory against primitive humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. All systems ready, they said in unison, their voices perfectly synchronized. The Harbinger turned toward the approaching enemy. In the darkness of space, the prototype weapon prepared to reveal what 50 years of hidden development had created. Humanity's greatest secret was about to become the aliens' worst nightmare. The alien fleet arrived like a dark storm. 847 ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their hulls were black as midnight, covered in spikes and weapon ports. At their center was the massive flagship Dominion of Worlds, a ship the size of a small moon. War Master Velthar stood on his command bridge, 4 arms crossed in satisfaction. His red eyes glowed as he studied the tactical display. 23 human ships waited in defensive positions around the asteroid field. Pathetic. Destroy them all, he commanded. His voice echoed through the fleet communications. The Kethvar ships moved forward in a crushing wave. Their weapons powered up, casting eerie green light across their hulls. They had conquered 47 worlds using these same tactics. Overwhelming force. No mercy, but something was wrong. War Master, his sensor operator called out. I'm detecting an anomaly in Sector 7. What kind of anomaly? Unknown energy signature. It's massive. Velthar studied his screens. Deep in the asteroid field, something was moving. Something that had not been there moments before. The UES Harbinger emerged from dimensional space like a ghost becoming solid. To the aliens, it seemed to simply appear from nothing. The ship's hull gleamed with inner light, and space itself seemed to bend around it. On the Harbinger's bridge, 8 minds working as one prepared for battle. They felt the ship's systems as extensions of their own bodies. The exotic matter reactor pulsed like a heart. The quantum cascade cannon hummed with barely contained power. Target analysis complete, they said in unison. Their enhanced consciousness could process information faster than any computer. Engaging priority targets. The Harbinger moved like no ship should be able to move. It folded space around itself, appearing instantly 3,000 kilometers away. The alien fleet's sensors could not track it properly. What is that thing? Velthar demanded. His tactical officer's voice shook. Unknown class. It's not in our database. Then destroy it. A dozen alien ships turned their weapons toward the Harbinger. Green energy beams and plasma missiles filled the space where the human ship had been. But the Harbinger was no longer there. It had shifted into parallel dimensional space, letting the weapons pass through empty air. The ship reappeared behind the alien formation. The quantum cascade cannon fired for the first time in 50 years. Space screamed. A ball of twisted gravity formed in front of the weapon, then expanded rapidly. The laws of physics bent and broke around it. 3 alien cruisers were caught in the effect, their hulls compressed like paper being crumpled. In seconds, they collapsed into a single point of impossible density. But the cascade effect was just beginning. The artificial gravity, well created by the first targets, pulled in nearby ships. As they were crushed, they added their mass to the effect. 4 more ships died, then 6, then 10. Impossible, Velthar roared. No weapon can do that. His fleet was in chaos. Ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape the expanding gravity waves. But the Harbinger was not finished. The merged consciousness guided the ship through another dimensional shift. This time, they appeared in the middle of the alien formation. The adaptive armor phased constantly, making the ship nearly impossible to hit. Secondary weapons came online. Energy beams that cut through alien hulls like knives through cloth. Missile systems that fired projectiles through folded space, allowing them to strike targets from impossible angles. The human fleet, watching from a distance, could hardly believe what they were seeing. Captain Han, Admiral Seo's voice came through their communications. "Are you seeing this?" Captain Han stood on the bridge of the Determination, staring at the tactical display. "Yes, ma'am. The Harbinger it's rewriting the rules of space combat. How many alien ships have been destroyed? 43 and counting. On the Harbinger, the merged crew felt the battle like a deadly dance. They moved through the alien fleet, striking and vanishing, appearing where the enemy least expected. Their enhanced consciousness could predict enemy movements seconds before they happened. But Warmaster Velthar was not a fool. He had conquered many worlds by adapting to unexpected tactics. "All ships new formation," he commanded. "Sphere pattern around the anomaly. Fire everything at once." The alien fleet reformed into a globe with the Harbinger at the center. 800 ships aimed their weapons inward. Energy spike detected. The merged consciousness reported to themselves, taking evasive action. The Harbinger began to phase shift, but it was too late. The aliens fired simultaneously. Even shifting between dimensions could not avoid that much firepower. Energy beams and missiles filled all of space around the ship. The Harbinger's armor absorbed what it could. The rest hammered against the hull with devastating force. Systems overloaded. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Hull breach in Section 12, they reported calmly, even as part of their ship died around them. But the Harbinger had been built for this. Nanite repair systems activated automatically. The hull sealed itself. Damaged systems came back online. "Impossible," Velthar whispered. "What are these humans?" The answer came in the form of another quantum cascade blast. This time the weapon was fired at maximum power. The gravity well that formed was visible to the naked eye. A sphere of twisted light that devoured everything it touched. 20 alien ships vanished in an instant. The cascade effect spread outward, chain reacting through the enemy formation. Ships tried to escape, but gravity moved faster than their engines. The alien sphere formation collapsed into chaos. "Warmaster," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving surrender requests from 17 ships." "No surrender," Velthar roared. "All ships ram the anomaly. Destroy it at any cost." But his fleet was breaking apart. Some ships fled toward hyperspace. Others continued fighting, their weapons ineffective against the Harbinger's phasing armor. A few tried to ram the human ship only to watch it vanish and reappear elsewhere. The merged consciousness felt the tide of battle turning. They had destroyed over 200 alien ships. The enemy formation was scattered and demoralized. But then new contacts appeared on their sensors. "Warmaster," Velthar's tactical officer reported. "Reinforcement fleet arriving. 300 additional ships." The second wave of the alien invasion dropped out of hyperspace. Fresh ships with full weapons and undamaged hulls. They had been held in reserve for just this situation. Now the Harbinger faced over 600 enemies. Even with their advanced weapons, the odds were becoming impossible. "Hull stress at 80%, the merged consciousness reported. "Exotic matter reactor showing strain." On his flagship, Velthar smiled with all four arms. "Now we finish this. All ships converge on the anomaly. Today we end the human threat forever." The Harbinger found itself surrounded once again, but this time the aliens were ready for its tricks. They had spread out to prevent cascade effects. They fired in rotating patterns to counter the ship's phasing ability. The final phase of the battle was about to begin. The Harbinger was dying. Warning lights flashed red across every console. The hull had been breached in 17 places. The exotic matter reactor was running at dangerous levels, barely contained by failing magnetic fields. 600 alien ships surrounded them in a perfect sphere. This time, Warmaster Velthar had learned from his mistakes. The ships were spread far apart to prevent cascade effects. They fired in carefully timed waves to counter the Harbinger's dimensional phasing. Armor integrity at 30%, the merged consciousness reported. Their unified voice remained calm, but they could feel individual thoughts starting to separate. The consciousness link was failing under the stress of battle. On the alien flagship, Velthar watched the human ship struggle. Green energy beams hammered its hull continuously. The strange vessel could no longer phase shift fast enough to avoid all the incoming fire. "Maintain formation," he ordered. "Keep firing. The anomaly is weakening." But even as victory seemed certain, something troubled the War Master. In all his campaigns, he had never seen weapons like these humans possessed. How had such a primitive species developed technology that surpassed his own empire? On the Harbinger, the merged crew felt their connection wavering. Deho's individual thoughts began to surface. He could sense Sora's fear, Taemin's determination, Hyejin's courage. They were becoming separate people again, just when they needed unity most. Arya. They spoke together, though their voices were no longer perfectly synchronized. Status of the consciousness link? Neural pathways destabilizing. Estimate 5 minutes before complete separation. And our chances of survival? Without the Gestalt intelligence, 0%. Through the storm of enemy fire, they saw the massive shape of the Dominion of Worlds moving closer. The flagship was 3 times larger than any other ship in the fleet. Its hull bristled with weapons that could crack planets. "The command ship is approaching." Captain Han's thoughts filtered through the link. "If we can destroy it, the fleet might scatter. Range is too great for the Cascade cannon," Boram's scientific mind calculated. "We would need to get within 2 kilometers. That's a suicide run." Dongwook's fear was clear to them all. Deho felt the weight of command, even through the shared consciousness. These people had trusted him. Now he was leading them to their deaths. But then Sora's engineering knowledge sparked an idea. Through the link, she shared her understanding of the ship's systems. "The reactor," she thought to them all. "We can overload it." "That would destroy the ship," Taemin's piloting instincts warned. "Not if we contain the explosion." Boram's scientific mind raced through calculations. "Channel it through the Cascade cannon. Create a controlled singularity." Using the ship's entire mass as ammunition, Hyejin understood immediately. Arya's voice cut through their thoughts. "Warning, such an action would require point-blank range with the target. Crew survival probability 0%. The merged consciousness fell silent. Around them, alien weapons continued to tear at their hull. They had perhaps 2 minutes before the ship broke apart completely. Wait. Dongwook's analytical mind had found something. The consciousness transfer protocol. Arya mentioned it before. What exactly does it do? In the event of ship destruction, crew consciousness can be transferred to quantum storage matrices, Arya explained. Original purpose was to preserve experienced crews for clone bodies. Clone bodies? Deho's thoughts sharpened. "You mean we could survive?" "Theoretical survival. The technology has never been tested under combat conditions." Through the chaos of battle, they felt a moment of hope. But it was interrupted by a massive impact. The Dominion of Worlds had fired its main weapon. A beam of pure energy struck the Harbinger's starboard side, punching completely through the hull. "Main power offline," they reported as one. "Emergency power only." The alien ships pressed closer, sensing victory. But the Harbinger was not finished yet. "Arya, prepare for consciousness transfer," Deho decided. "All crew, prepare for reactor overload." "Transfer matrices charging," the AI confirmed. "Warning. You will experience temporary discontinuity of existence." Better than permanent discontinuity. Sora's thoughts carried grim humor. They felt the ship responding to their will one final time. The exotic matter reactor's containment fields began to collapse in a controlled fashion. Power that could fuel a star was being channeled into the quantum cascade cannon. The Harbinger turned toward the massive alien flagship. Its engines, powered by the dying reactor, pushed it forward faster than any ship should be able to move. "What is it doing?" Velthar demanded. The human ship was accelerating directly toward his flagship, its hull glowing white-hot from reactor overload. "Ramming speed," his tactical officer reported. "Impact in 30 seconds. All weapons, destroy that ship." Every gun on the Dominion of Worlds fired at once. The Harbinger flew through a storm of energy and metal. Its armor was gone. Its hull was breaking apart. But still it came forward. "Consciousness transfer initiating," Arya announced. The world dissolved into light. For an instant that lasted forever, the crew felt themselves floating in digital space. They were patterns of thought without bodies, memories without flesh. Then the Harbinger struck the alien flagship. The controlled reactor explosion created a singularity exactly 2 meters wide. It lasted for only a fraction of a second, but that was enough. The dominion of worlds, pride of the Kethvar Empire, simply ceased to exist. The singularity consumed it completely, along with 30 nearby ships caught in the gravitational wave. The explosion was visible across the entire star system. Where the alien flagship had been, only empty space remained. Warmaster Velthar was dead. His command structure was gone. The remaining alien ships, leaderless and terrified, began to flee toward hyperspace. In the quantum storage matrices deep within the Harbinger's computer core, 8 patterns of consciousness waited. The ship itself was gone, destroyed in the explosion, but Aria's systems had survived, protected by the same technology that powered the weapons. Consciousness transfer successful, Aria reported to the surviving human fleet. Crew preserved in digital format. Admiral Mi Young-seo's voice came through the communications array. Aria, can they be restored? Affirmative. Clone bodies can be prepared within 72 hours. Full personality restoration is possible. Captain Han, watching from the determination, shook his head in amazement. They did it. 8 people against an empire, and they won. 3 days later, in the medical facilities of Earth Station Alpha, 8 clone bodies opened their eyes. They looked exactly like the originals, but their minds carried the memories of impossible victory. Daeho sat up first, his new body feeling strange but familiar. Around him, his crew was awakening. Sora, Taemin, Hyojin, the others. They were alive, though not in the way they had been born. How do you feel? Admiral Seo asked. Different, Daeho admitted. But still ourselves. The alien fleet? Scattered. Most fled back to their own territory. The ones that stayed surrendered. Admiral Seo smiled. Humanity is safe. And the galaxy knows we are not to be underestimated. Over the following months, the Harbinger's technology was studied and reproduced. A new class of warships was built, incorporating the lessons learned from Project Prometheus. Earth went from a minor species struggling to survive to a major power that other civilizations approached with respect. But it all began with 4 miners who found something impossible in an asteroid field. They had awakened humanity's greatest weapon and proven that sometimes the most unlikely heroes can change the fate of worlds. The prototype ship was gone, but its legacy lived on. Earth's forgotten weapon had saved them all, and the galaxy would never be the same. In space docks across human territory, new ships were being built. Ships that could bend reality itself. Ships crewed by people who understood that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their willingness to risk everything for each other. The Kethvar Empire learned that humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were something far more dangerous, a people who would never surrender, never give up, and never stop fighting for what they believed in. And in the depths of space, other alien empires began to take notice. The humans had announced themselves to the galaxy in a way that could not be ignored. The age of human expansion was about to begin,